Jan Harris has been doing pottery since she was 4 years old. As a little girl, her mother would take her to what is now called the Durham Arts Council. Sometimes meetings would go on for hours, but the little pottery wheel in the basement gave a means for passing the time. Jan has lived in Hillsborough for many years, but she just recently moved to her house on St. Mary's Street. Most people, when they look at a house, they look for a number of qualities, but Jan wanted only one thing, her own studio. Previously owned by a musician, a musical studio already existed in the backyard. It was just up to Jan to transform it into a place to make her art. She bought the house, ready for the challenge. Jan's studio is essentially her second home. Although the studio already existed in the backyard, she worked intensively for months to furnish it with all the possible art supplies. The biggest challenge was getting the kiln in. Jan makes a number of creations to sell. From mugs, plates, to small vases, Jan makes anything that can be used to adorn a home. Her process is intensive. First, she must sculpt the product out of clay. Although this may seem simple, the often intricate details of her designs can make the process take entire days. Then it's off to the kiln. As Jan says, she lives by the timer. Days are wrapped around the firing process, with Jan shuttling between the home and her studio with her trusty sidekick Rajka. When the firing is complete, Jan gets ready to paint. Store-bought paints tend to make the paint come out clumpy, so Jan adds a special mixture of chemicals to thin the paint. She's also used her chemical process to make her own signature colors, each of which is named after an animal. Painting may be easy for Jan now, but a couple of years ago, Jan suffered from a severe wheat allergy, which stiffened her joints, making it near impossible to paint. Her allergy was so severe her doctors thought she had multiple sclerosis, and her undiagnosed issue had her sidelined from the art scene for years. But back and ready for action, Jan now owns Dragonfly Ridge Studios. After her process is complete, she's ready to sell. Art shows mainly take place in the spring because the warm North Carolina environment encourages people to stop by and look around. Whether people come to stop and smell the flowers, listen to music, or lie in the grass, art galleries are the perfect time for Jan to show off her hard work. Here, a man buys a little something for his wife. And even if people aren't interested in taking something home, there's always time for a quick conversation, and at least a little extra time to give somebody a card. Although the majority of Jan's art is done without any aid, there's always room for collaboration as well. Using the mosaic talents of an artist one booth over, Jan created benches for some vibrant outdoor seating. The tricky thing is carrying them over to the car. It may seem like Jan spends the majority of her time alone, but her personality is one that extends into many crevices of the Hillsborough community. An active member of St. Matthew's, Jan spends her evenings singing in the church choir. It's not just a time to work on her singing, but also a time to connect with members of the community. In between sets, Jan and fellow choir members snag some time to check in and see how everything is going. Jan's religious interest extends outside of the choir as well. In her weekly medieval Renaissance meetings, Jan leads a seminar discussion to discuss the topic of that week. This week, the topic is Lent, and in honor of the discussion, Jan and friends have created a Lent-friendly meal. And although eating is certainly a time to delve into the discussion even further, there's always some time for a quick laugh about an incident at the spice market. In some ways, Jan is never alone. Either surrounded by her worker friends, this independent Hillsboroughite never feels lonely.